Welcome to the Friday Huddle Show, a podcast that inspires entrepreneurs to connect on a deeper level and to motivate them in the process. My name is Valerie Liddell, and I'm the founder of Grind Plus Growth. And I'm sitting down with entrepreneurs to talk about their entrepreneurial journey, the lessons they've learned, and how to make an impact. Hello, today is June the 5th, 2020, and you are in the Friday Huddle. We have special guest Anna Ekpo. I am your host, Valerie Liddell. Let's introduce Anna. Welcome to the show, Anna.
Thank you so much.
So, Anna, if you could just introduce yourself and just explain to us what your businesses are.
My name is Anna Ekpo, and I am an entrepreneur. I'm an attorney. I also am an adjunct law professor, and I am a makeup lover, a makeup addict. And I recently became a certified life coach. So in January is when I started my makeup company. It's called Ekposé Beauty. And like I said, I've always loved makeup. And I kind of got it from my mom. She was a makeup lover as well. And I would watch her put on her makeup and things like that. So it kind of became just a thing that I did. And so I would say a couple of years ago, I started getting back into makeup because at one point I was really into it. Like I was doing some freelance artistry, things like that. And then I kind of drifted away from it. Maybe 2 years ago, I started getting like really into it, and I discovered YouTube was a thing, and all the makeup tutorials and things like that. All the makeup, the pretty makeup on Instagram, and I was like, oh, this is so nice. So somehow that just morphed into a business, which I think is really wonderful because they say like do what you love. And so this is what it gives me an opportunity to do what I love.
Yes,
So
I definitely agree with that. You have to do what you love and what you're passionate about because it really doesn't feel like a job.
yeah, it doesn't. It just feels like fun. And I do all of my what I call market research, which is putting on makeup. And so like I love it. So when we started, I came out with a palette at launch on January 10th. It's called The Beautiful Ones. And it's mostly neutrals with a few pops of color. And I don't know, I just love it. So it's like if you take, the two more colorful ones out, you see it's like pretty much a neutral palette, but you have those to play with. I have it on now, and I really enjoy it. And then I also came out with this is a launch lipstick that we have, and it's called Beauty is Her Name lipstick. And I have it in honor rather of my mom. And we launched on January 10th because that was her birthday. She's been gone for about maybe 13 years now. And so because she like taught me everything I knew about makeup, and I wanted something, happy to celebrate in terms of her memory. So I was like, that would be great to every January 10th to celebrate her birthday and kind of this rebirth of, what she taught me about beauty and the anniversary of my business. Like that would bring me, it makes me really happy to think about it that way. So we have our launch lipstick, which I wanted it to be like extra like her. Just too much. Oh, like just shiny, like bright, like all of those things. And I wanted to be kind of a classic, so I did like a red. I wanted to be a red, but it's a universal red because I wanted to make it wearable for everyone. And usually when it's a redwood, so when there's a little bit of brown, it makes it more wearable.
Yeah.
And so I have that on now as well. And I also have on the eyeshadow palette, and also did lashes. And that has to be much as well. And so we also did lashes, and this one is Sophisticate, and that's the one I have on today as well.
Yeah.
And so that's what we started with: lashes, lipstick, eyeshadow palettes, and of course brushes, which is my obsession. I have a brush obsession. It's a problem. And I I don't want it to be fixed. I just want, I want all of the brushes. So, like, I just love soft brushes, and they just make me feel like I'm a real artist. I'm like, oh no, I'm Picasso today. So I love that. We had 3 brush sets. So the Midnight Stars, and then the Champagne Wishes, 3 complete brush sets that if you have those, you pretty much have what you need. Any one of them, you would have what you need to make a full face. So
I love it. And I remember when we were talking, you were saying that there's a technique to the brushes, like you use a different brush for applying certain types of makeup. So how would a blush brush look from an eyeshadow brush and so forth? Like explain your brushes a little further.
um okay, so I would say I'll take these 2 for example. These 2 look a lot alike, but they're very different. And I think the most different thing on this is, like, you see the head is tapered. I don't know if you can see that.
Mm-hmm.
It's tapered. So that gives you a different kind of precision placement. And so with this, like, it would apply differently than this, which is like a domed head.
Okay.
And so that would be different from this because this is an angled head. Now you could use them all potentially for the same thing, but some would maybe be better than others. So you could use this one. I mean, you could put on your blush with this, but it's a little dense. And when it's denser, the color is more heavily packed on. And so usually you don't want a whole bunch of blush. You want it to be a little fluffier, so it'll disperse more. Like with this one, for example, because it's an angle, it's good for your contour, going in like this with your contour, like that. Where this is like good for, it's a little fluffier. It's kind of good for the cheek. There's just different uses where these are all eye brushes, but they look kind of alike, but they're different. And so like this one, you can put, it's a concealer brush, so you can use it to like do concealing, but cut creases are very popular too. And that's what you need for a cut crease, is like a flat kind of dome brush, but the bristles need to be stiff.
Okay.
And so, and then, you know, you do want to also get into the crease. So you want to, blending is everything. So you want to blend, blend, blend. So yeah, there are different uses and things like that. And I try to be descriptive on my website and let people know what they can use the brush for, because you can do it for more than one thing. So I don't put on there like crease brush, which is helpful. That is very helpful. But then I want people to be able to experiment and use it different ways, because you can use a brush like multiple ways and get a lot of use out of it. So I want to encourage creativity in that way, but then I also want people to have some guidance as well, people that maybe not be familiar.
Okay, and so how much are the brushes for sale on your website?
They're currently on sale. I don't recall what the sale price is. This is bad, but I think like this one was originally around, I think they're about like 35, 40 per set, something like that. I actually have a set, which is the crystal clear brush set, which is a favorite of mine, that is on sale. It's half price this week, which is $10.75.
Oh, wow.
And so it's a really beautiful set. It's has a clear handle, and that it's 6 pieces, and they have a lot of you get a lot of use out of that set. So that's one I enjoy that's on sale as well this week.
Okay. And I'll definitely add those links to the bottom of the video, so people who are interested, they can definitely click on those links and check it out.
Yeah.
So let's talk about life coaching. So what motivated you to go down that path?
Well, I think that I've always kind of been a life coach, unbeknownst to me. I think I've always been just a very sensitive person, an empath, and a listener. And I've been drawn to professions that have allowed me to explore that. I've been a teacher in the past. I taught 7th grade. I spent a long time as a union organizer. And what we did as organizers, I did that as soon as I came out of college. And I worked for a couple of international unions, and we would travel around the country and we would go talk to people. So I would show up on Val's door and you're like, how did you find me? I would show up at your door, I'd knock on the door and I'll say, yeah, there's people at your job who are organizing for, more money, for better pay. And I just wanted to come in and talk to you and see what you think about it. And, they could say, oh, yeah, I love the union, sign me up. Or they'll say, I hate union, I'm anti-union, I hate you, I hate everyone. Get off of my porch, and that has happened before. But more often than not, they would invite me in, and whether, they wanted to join or not, we would talk. And my mom was a union, she was a union home health care worker. And I was able to work on a lot of home health campaigns, and, they're mostly women, they're mostly poor women, they're women of color. And so that was very, it resonated with me a lot. So in terms of life coaching, I see myself as a resource, like a sounding board, because I think people oftentimes, when they think about it, they know what path to take and they know what to do, instinctively that's in them. But a lot of times we just go, we don't think, we don't have time to reflect because we're so busy trying to make it. And I find that that's true for a lot of the women that I was talking to. They didn't realize how amazing they were or things like that, or how much that they were really enduring because they just went and did it. And so we would talk and they would say, well, I'm raising my kids by myself, or, I have this illness, but my health insurance is really bad, but I have to get groceries for my kids. I can't get my medications, things like that. And by the time we sat down and we talked for I would get in trouble because we weren't supposed to spend a lot of time. They're like, you need to get to the next house. So I'm just in there wow. And so we're talking back and forth, or we're not actually talking back and forth. It's kind of like we're now, right? You're listening, and they're just getting an opportunity to talk and they are not heard. No one, because they come home and they just do, And so they're getting a chance to be heard. And they're getting a chance to talk about things that they didn't even realize. And so, they're like, well, I couldn't do that because I can't afford to, do it or whatever it is. And as they're listening to themselves, they're realizing I can't afford not to do this. I'm going to work every day. I work 40 hours a week and I qualify for food stamps, so I qualify for this, that's not right. And so I think that's kind of when it began for me in a way to be a sounding board. And as a union organizer, I wouldn't advocate for people. I would kind of teach them how to advocate for themselves. Yeah. And so whether we would be we're marching on the boss or whatever, I'm not the face of their union because I don't work there. But I'm supporting them, and and they'll say, well, what should I say? I'm like, well, what is it that you want to say? What is it on your heart to say? If we're lobbying, because that's what we would do. We would have in-district lobbying where they go to meet their state rep, or we go to Jefferson City and we lobby. And they're like, well, what do I say? I'm like, well, tell them what you told me when I sat on your couch, right? That's why we're here, right? And so it's kind of and that started when I was 22. And it's been 2 years since then, and so 2 + 0 or whatever. And so it's been a while since then, but, in doing that, I'm 22 and I'm talking to women in their 40s and in their 50s, and we're working together and I'm moving them along, and I'm just honored to be able to work with them and in awe of them and their accomplishments and how strong they are, and that they'll listen to me because I'm young enough to be their kid, right? So I think that's the beautiful thing about it, is that we have so much to learn from one another, just not in life coaching, but generally in life, but also in life coaching, and you can just really be a resource and encourage people in ways that you don't even realize. And so the more I thought about it, I was like, that's something that like I've always done, it's been a listening ear. And as an attorney, like I listen to people, that's a big part of being an attorney. You just listen and you learn, and that's what you let people talk. And you get, I have to get the information that I need. And the more you listen, the more you get, for better or for worse. So I'm like, oh, you didn't think to tell me of that before I lied in this motion, apparently. You didn't give me all the facts. So, okay. Or, the more you listen, the more you learn. And then you get in a deposition and you're like, you didn't tell me that, but you want to tell them that? Like, okay. But the key thing is, I think, listening. And I've always been drawn to these professions where I work with people and where I listen and where we exchange. And just kind of being a listening ear, being an educator, being an encourager, being a support, and being a sounding board. And so that's what really led me down that path.
Wow.
So,
and like as you were talking and the emotions that you're feeling, I can really see that you have a heart for people and you have that passion in you to want to just help everybody that you can, everyone you can. And
yeah.
That just really speaks volumes of the person that you are, the good heart that you have, and just everything that you're doing and the impact that you're going to make and the impact that you're already making.
Yeah. Thank you. That's very kind of you. And I hate to sit here. I'm like, this is, I'm like, this is my life coaching session, because I think that's a lot of it is just listening to people. And this has been like a very emotional few weeks with, a lot of the civil unrest around the George Floyd murder, and, a lot of our anxiety around this pandemic and things like that. And so it brings everything home for me, and, why I do what I do. And even, my beauty business is an extension of me wanting the best for women. And I'm very passionate about like women's issues and things like that, and uplifting other women. And part of it, a big piece of it is like, I want women to feel good. And so, for better or for worse, we live in a society where women go through a lot based upon their looks. And there's a lot of angst, there's a lot of anxiety, there's a lot of pressure and things like that. And that weighs on a person's psyche a lot. And it changes the way that they view themselves. Through that lens is how they approach everything in life. And so my objective in a way is, I like lipstick and lashes and things like that. But the more important piece is for women to wake up every day and to say, I feel like I'm putting my best foot forward. I feel good when I wake up. I'm ready to head out. I'm ready to start the day. And I feel confident. It's more so about the confidence that, and the beauty of their spirit, that they feel more free, to, because they feel that confidence. So it's more about the inner beauty than the outer, is more so the important piece. And I always go back to thinking like, when I was little and they would do all those makeover shows on the talk shows. Mm-hmm. And so you would come in and the woman would be in the before like, because like that's how they felt, you know what I'm saying? And it's like crazy how much is associated with like, that's how they just look angry. And then they come out hair flowing going and they're just lighter and they're happier and their smile is brilliant. And so that's more so what it's about for me, so yeah.
Yeah, and like that, having that confidence and that self-esteem will honestly turn you into a new person. When you feel good about yourself and you feel like you look good, yeah, you can conquer the world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it impacts, it spills over into everything and every decision that you make. And it goes back to self-love. And there's so many different components of that, including how you appear, like how you show up, you know. And so that goes back to like the important thing for me is just self-love and self-care, you know.
That's very important. Self-love,
Mm-hmm.
care. So, like, what are some things that you do for self-love and self-care, and especially during this time that we're going through with the civil unrest, the pandemic?
Mm-hmm. I try to be the first thing that I do is allow myself to feel. I think that as Black women in particular, we're very much so programmed to be strong and, be strong and carry everything and don't cry. And, you just got to keep going. You got to carry on, which is all very true. But it's toxic if you don't allow yourself to feel. And I mean, it literally breaks down your body, right? All that stress, all the anxiety, the high blood pressure, um, like all of those things, like the dis-ease when you're uneasy, the dis-ease, and your body is just, being destroyed. And that type of emotion, when you keep that inside, it's very destructive. And I think when you see riots, that's what you're seeing, right? You're seeing all these years of pain. That's pain. So one of the things that is important for me is not to repress that pain. And so I just allow myself to feel and feel what it is that I feel. That's like a luxury that I give myself, which I think a lot of women don't, because they have to be so many things to so many people. And they feel that pressure very acutely and they don't want to be weak, you know? And so I try to just allow myself to feel. That's the first thing. And I take time for myself. And I do things that I enjoy, which include putting on my makeup and watching my YouTubes and reading, or, whatever it is, I take time to do that. So I think and it's easier for me because I'm a single woman. But I think that it's kind of like with that oxygen mask, like we all have to put on the oxygen and care for ourselves first before we can turn to the more vulnerable person and say, here, I got you. We have to be able to breathe first. So yeah, definitely that's something I encourage is self-care, to feel your emotions and to do something that you enjoy.
Yes. And like you said, we are so many different things to many people, and we wear many hats. And that's why it's good to tap into those emotions, those feelings, and just be able to process.
Right.
Not having that time to process what you're feeling and what you're going through, I feel like it's just going to continue to build up and fester into something that you don't want it to fester into, or something that you weren't really even prepared for. So now you got one thing to deal with, then you got something new to deal with on top of that. So it's okay to just take a moment to yourself, just sit down, inhale, exhale, figure out what is going on, process yourself through those emotions, and just kind of bounce back from it. You may not heal yourself right away by doing that, but it definitely helps you and gives you that second wind to keep going.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I think that just again, I'll go back particularly to us as Black women. We're constantly programmed with that strong Black woman, independent woman trope. And that can be very damaging. It can be very damaging because, we have that's why we suffer in so many ways in terms of mental health, emotional health, and, that turns into physical disease because we do take on so much and have such high expectations. And we don't have an outlet a lot of times. So I think it's very important for us in terms of our peace, our emotional peace, and our emotional well-being to really process those emotions.
And so I know you were saying that you process through feeling it,
Mhm.
and also putting on your makeup and watching your YouTube videos. It just helps
Right.
you get into a happy place. What are some other outlets that you may take advantage of that you notice that helps as well?
I noticed that being active helps a lot, and I've gotten out of that. Because at first it was like, I'm not going outside. Because I actually got into like a car thing in November where my back was injured. So I went through a period where I wasn't working out because of that. And then I was kind of getting back into it, getting back into my groove, being more active. And here comes the road. I'm like, I'm not breathing outside. Like, who does that? But I'm like, but yeah, the road is going to be here. So I'm trying to get back active. I actually went the other day and started looking for a bike, and every bike is sold out like everywhere. I guess everyone has the same thing in mind. So the search will continue. But being active is definitely something that's helpful. Prayer, meditation. Um, I'm not a huge journaler, but I have a billion journals. But I realize that I actually am a journaler. And so I do like journal. I write things down and things like that. Um, so prayer helps a lot. Staying active, writing, and I pour myself into like business and things like that. Like even being inside with the pandemic, I pivoted the business to press on nails because I couldn't get to the salon because they were closed. And so like I was like, I hadn't, you know, I always consistently have a manicure like every 2 weeks. So I was like panicking. Imagine the world crumbling around you, like, I can't wear my manicure. And so I'm like, the end of the world is near and Jesus will not see me like this. So I that was a lot of time trying to find the nails that I wanted to carry and testing them and things like that. And um, being an attorney, I always wear my nails very conservative, which are not on now, because now I'm always switching them out to something different. But I was like, because I'm thinking like Lee press on nails, like from the 80s or whatever. I'm like, we don't do this, do we? But there's this whole world of press on nails that I wasn't even aware of. So, like with me, staying in the makeup groups and stuff like that, I was learning more about how like other people were very troubled, like, I mean, deeply troubled about these nails. And they're like willing to risk it all. And I'm like, no, we're not going to do that. So, so I pivoted the business and I added press on nails, and I have a few sets here actually that, and kinds that I always wanted to experiment with because, like I said, I like the glitter and the sparkle and all those things. So, I have sets like
Oh, those
these.
are so pretty. I love the
I love this set, but it has like a little diamond bow, and these have lots of sparkle and they're shiny. So I spend time doing that too as well. So investing in my business and investing in myself and spending. That's how I spend a lot of time in terms of thinking about how that's going to develop.
Oh wow. And the spin that you took on it, with adding the nails, I just think that's just like so dope. Because you have some beautiful nail collection. And I remember going on the website when you told me, go check out the nails, pick out a pair. And like they were all sold out. And I'm like, okay, this is just so cool that something that you were not going to do, and the pandemic, it kind of switched your thinking, and you're hearing other people and you're taking that in, and you're like, you know what, let me add this to my business. I mean, this is a great idea, and for it to be successful, that's awesome. And the nails are beautiful.
Thank you. Yeah, I was just like, I think part of it is I'm like, so solution oriented. And so I'm like, we all have this problem. Like, what are we going to do? So I just wanted to be another alternative, because I know I hadn't really thought about press on nails, and I know, and they're out there, press on nail companies are out there, and there's a lot of, there's some on Instagram, on Etsy and stuff like that, that are really have really nice stuff. And so, but, there's always room, and B, there's different audiences. And so I want to make sure, I'm like, everybody needs these nails right now. I'm like, we got to get the word out as much as possible. So definitely my objective is with that is I like to have a little something for everyone. So I have some things that are very conservative. I have some like, very classic looks. I have some like very long kind of fashion looks, in terms of the nails, because that's me, my little, I'm conservative in one way, and then I like the glitter and the extra. So it's both. Yeah.
Okay. So what would you say your number one biggest fear about entrepreneurship?
I don't have any fear.
Okay.
I really don't have any fear because I always take risks. I always take risk, and I'm not risk averse. And I mean, I'm not afraid of losing, I'm not afraid of loss, and I'm not ashamed of quote unquote failure. I don't really believe in failure. I just believe in opportunity to have more information or more of a background to win in the next round, So I don't really have any fears around entrepreneurship. I just take a chance. Like sometimes, sometimes you win, sometimes you lose, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, and you just keep it moving. I actually had an antique business because I grew up around antiques, and I collected, antiques, and my mom was an antique dealer. So I would look up the different antiques for her, and we would go to like estate sales and stuff like that. And I was the mapper. So I had like a map that I would get out, like a city map, and it was on a spiral bound, and I would have to map out everything. And so when I became an organizer, way before GPS was on the map for, regular everyday people, like they were in awe of the fact that I could just spread out a map and I could find anything. And I'm like, this is because of garage sales. And so I could find anything, anywhere. So I was like, I'm like, oh, well, I love antiques. So I'm going to become an antique dealer in an antique mall. And so I did that. And on an individual basis, I was making great money. If it's like one thing, I paid X amount, and here is a 75, 80% profit margin. But on the whole, things were moving slow. And by the time I pay the rent, I have to pay the commission, and I have to like go get all the things, they don't just produce antiques. I have to look for them. I have to go to the estate sales. I have to go to, all of these places or whatnot to get the inventory. And so that was very time consuming, and it's very expensive, especially the startup costs and things like that. And I was like, I'm losing money. So I had 2 different antique malls that I was in. And so I closed one down. And so I'm like, okay, I'm going to just be confined to this one. Started losing money there. And so in February, I believe, which God does everything for a reason, because during the pandemic, you can't go to an antique mall, like February or so, I think may have been February or March may have been my last. I think it was end of February. I need to be gone, so I wouldn't be there for the new month in March. And of course, around March, mid-March, everyone's at home on the stay-at-home orders. Yeah. And so I was like, I can't keep losing money like this. So I was like, we're just going to, I got my cousin and we packed up everything, and it was just so much. And I was going to move as well. That was delayed, or it's not a thing anymore. And so I was going to move as well. And I just looked at all the stuff. It was just so much stuff. And I said, she's like, okay, well, we're going to your house. We're going to put it in the basement. I said, let's take it all to Goodwill. And she was like, because these are antiques, right? And so, like, we have the tags on them. Everything was lovingly cleaned and tagged, and it has $30 on this, $40 on that. And that's the book value or for someone who collects that thing. But you got to wait until the person who collects it comes by to get it, right? And so I had like all of this stuff, like, I think the Beatles records were gone, but like things like Beatles records, Michael Jackson LPs, things like that. Just all those types of things, those were gone because those go quick. But like other things along those lines, these things that have value, I said, I can't be, I'm not, first of all, I'm tired. We've been here all day wrapping stuff. I was like, we got to take it all the way downstairs. And I'm like, I already have so much junk in there, like from the last place. And then I'm trying to move. And I was like, she's like, but look at all this money that you just gonna leave. And I was like, hey. I don't know. I mean, hey. So, that wasn't a profitable venture. Because somebody done lucked up on some of their goodwill, but that's a loss for me, right?
Yeah.
But, it is what it is. So I really don't have a fear around entrepreneurship. You try things, all you can do is try.
Right.
And see what happens. And sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. And as long as you keep trying, you're going to find the formula.
Yes, and I definitely agree with that. Entrepreneurship is all about the risk. It's all about taking that risk, stepping out there on faith, and just seeing what's going to happen. And that's why I'm like really passionate about Grind Plus Growth, because it teaches entrepreneurs that business education that they need in order to start and run and manage a successful business venture. Because without that business education, you're kind of going in there blindfolded, where you feel like you know what to do, but you really don't know what to do. And then you're going to hit a lot of road bumps and speed bumps and make mistakes that you really didn't have to make if you honestly took the time to learn about your venture and learn about the ins and outs of it, the legalities of it before you even started it. But it's all about that risk. And if you're the type of person that embraces the risk, embrace that journey, and know, okay, I'm gonna do this. If it works out, great. If it don't, okay, I'm gonna take bits and pieces from it that I learned, and I'm going to apply it and implement it into my new business that I'm going to start. And I think that's the mindset. That is the true definition of an entrepreneurial mindset and understanding
that. Yeah. So I'm pretty risk averse. I'm like, okay, well, just roll the dice. We're gonna pray. Let us pray. And we just do what we do. That's pretty much it. So I just we gonna make it happen. So that's pretty much my attitude toward that. Like there's no, like I don't have I'm not risk averse. I don't have a fear of failure or embarrassment. It's just been so many struggles for me and so many setbacks that I'm just like, it's like I can't be stuck in that place where I'm afraid of failing or afraid of what is someone going to think, or what if this doesn't work out, or how is that going to look. I just have to do what brings me joy and what is going to make me happy. And that's what I do.
And I totally agree with that. And I just really appreciate this, talking with you today. This has been a great conversation that we had. I love hearing the story of how you got started with the makeup, beautiful story. I love hearing about how you got started as a certified life coach, and just how you have a heart for people and a heart for change, and how you want women to feel beautiful. And that is just so important, because a lot of women out here, they don't feel beautiful.
Right.
They don't feel like they're enough. And for those that are watching, you are enough. You are beautiful. And we can't get so caught up on what society say, how we should look or how we should feel. We have to just really believe and know who we are deep inside and who we are made. We are made in the image and likeness of God. Mm-hmm. And he saw us fit. Mm-hmm. He see us as beautiful as can be. And within that, I feel validated enough to know I'm beautiful because my Father has made me in the image and likeness of Him.
Right.
And I take joy in that. I take pride in that. And I love it. And I hold on to it. And I use it to conquer the world, to conquer whatever fears I may have, and just to continue pushing and just continue growing. And I just really appreciate you just being vulnerable with us today and just sharing your story and just sharing who you really are, the heart of Anna. And like you said, we're going to put the links to your website. We do have a coupon code. The coupon code is Grind Plus Growth. There is a 20% off discount, and that will be until June the 13th, 2020. And it will be cut off at midnight on June the 13th, 2020. So as you saw, Anna showed all her beautiful makeup, the brushes, the palettes, the eyelashes, the nails. So just make sure that you go online and support her. Take advantage of the coupon code as well. Anna, again, I appreciate you. I appreciate everything that you're doing, the impact that you're making in people's lives. And thank you for joining us on the Friday Huddle episode 2 today.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate that. And I appreciate all you do as well. And entrepreneurs are going to be a lot better off having you as a resource. And so that is going to make a big difference. And that's awesome.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Okay, guys, join us next week for the new episode of the Friday Huddle, episode 3. We thank you for joining us today, and we will see you in the huddle next week. All right, see you later, Anna.
Thank you all for listening to the Friday Huddle, and join us next week for a brand new episode. Please be sure to check out the comment section for the links of the businesses that we discussed on the show. To learn more about Grind Plus Growth, visit us at www.grindplusgrowth.com and be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel to be notified when we go live.